Running a podcast, and actually she has a recorder behind her jacket, so don't do any crazy stuff now because it's going to be recorded. So welcome on stage, Christie and Jenny from BNP Paribas, long time back. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Before we get cozy, I just want to say one thing. I asked my amazing colleague, Johan Winterberg, to hold our camera because we're actually going to record this for my podcast, Pantrium. And let me say something. He has no ideas what he just said yes to. Holding a camera up like this for 20 minutes, his arms are going to soar. But regardless, let's give him applause for that he is fearless going into this. Let's sit down, Jenny. Let's get started. Let's talk about AI. Let's talk about how AI is actually completely changing how we're working today, how we are enabling new technologies. But first of all, I just wanted to raise an observation.
Yeah, and what is that?
Why are there two camps? We have a camp that are afraid. Why are we, like, AI is taking over the world. It's like the robots coming in. We are going to be redundant. It's excuse me my language, there's a podcast, it's a shit storm. And then you have the other camp that understands it, that are optimistic, that wants to bring AI into play and take it as a competitive advantage.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting to see that division between the two teams or whatever. And yesterday I was visiting a really interesting speech by Abda Rupp from Nordea, and she brought up this great example from John Deere, the good old tractor company, if you remember. And obviously, they have transformed themselves from being just a tractor company with cool overalls to becoming a tech company.
Yes.
By providing a super duper AI analysis tool for their customers, their farmers, to understand what would be the most optimized way of working with their soil and their products. And I thought it was quite mind-blowing, actually, to hear about such a traditional company doing such a journey. It took them 15 years until now to do it. But if they can do it, just imagine what this industry can be up to.
Yeah, and like we're in the industry that is supposedly to be the most digital, forward-thinking in digital transformation. So if, as you say, a tractor company, which we would assume are, let's say, just not in the same scale, they can do it, we can do it.
I think so, definitely.
I think so too.
And what made me think when I heard about that they're using AI for the analysis of soil, I was thinking, what are the other guys in that analysis department doing? And obviously they have this great organization that's working very much across the teams, have cooperation between the departments, and using some type of a farmer model of good old Spotify to come up with like completely new way of working with customer experience.
Okay, so if we are to take it back a notch, we are back in November 2022, ChatGPT enters the market, and that's where it all begins, more or less. Let's not talk about the, Gen AI. Yes, AI has been there for a decade. But for what we know today, the way that machine learning, AI, Gen AI are moving, looking at that adoption and looking at what's being done today, what happened, the first reactions after November 2022?
I think it was a slight of a panic and just not to know what to do. And also the big fear that I will be totally redundant within probably 5 minutes. Also think that at my place, we talked a lot about AI strategy, and we have to have an AI strategy. But what is an AI strategy? And in my perspective, I think it's just not, how many here have a completely clear AI strategy for their company?
Hands up for those that have.
Okay, one guy.
Interesting.
You should be on stage next year and talk about that. In my perspective, I think it's that strategy, or if I should come up with one, the way I've been working with it is to have basically three parallel legs. It's the one about technology, one is about the data, and one is, of course, about how we work together with each other and how we're reshaping our organizations completely and fundamentally. And how do we do that? Because to your point, there's a lot about, okay, we're changing, everything is moving forward, we need to adapt really quickly. Historically, there's been silos. How is that going to be influenced by AI and the way that we're working, and not just putting a head of AI, having an AI strategy, tick box? Well, I think that this is the time where we really have to look into having common KPIs. KPI has been floating around among all of us for a very long time, and that's great. What I find hard with KPIs is that they hopefully have a common goal, but when you drive it down to individual KPIs in the departments or teams, they're not always aligned. I mean, I've been so many times where I've been working with teams that have KPIs, measuring them, that is completely contradictory to my goals. And I think that we, for first time, will see models where we can a little bit more easily see how we can strive towards the same goal. That is one thing. And then I also think that is completely excited about with all this is that we eventually now we have all the access to data. And what shall we do with that? Well, work together with it, of course. And also I can see that there are a lot of more new meetings happening due to the fact that we don't have to spend the time sitting around doing fairly simple data analytics, fairly simple project planning, fairly simple work in general, I would say. So you have all that in place and you can start to work immediately and ask the right questions, the obnoxious questions, the new questions. And I think that is an amazing opportunity to look upon your own work and everybody else's work in a completely new way.
And when we are looking at working together, breaking down silos, identifying how do we move forward, how do we drive the organization in the same path forward. We talked a little bit about this aspect of cross-collaboration, understanding domain knowledge, and respecting each other's fields. What's your take on that, Jenny?
Well, I think that many companies are working fairly silo-oriented, even if they don't want to. And I think that is not so very productive for what we would like to achieve. And it's also very hard to break down because it comes down to us as human beings. We love to be in charge of things. We love to have ownership of domains. We like to be having our act together in order to frame ourselves as professional persons with a certain identity. And unfortunately, we will all have to come out of that comfort zone really, really soon and start to ask ourselves, what is actually beneficial for my business? What is completely redundant? And I think it's also rather cool, at the same time super scary, to ask those questions because it's also about organizational maturity. If you dare to make this type of shift, I've been working in the financial industry 25 years and started out when digital banking was new. It's always a little bit scary to make those shifts. And I can see the same shift now happening, but it's just that it's getting way faster this time. And so it's about culture. I think you have to be really focused on what culture your organization is setting up and how you start to ask the right questions of how you would like to change and what questions you're asking the data and how that can support you. Because this is, as we've been talking about many times, an enabler. It's not really a threat. It can be super scary, but it's actually an enabler to propel your business forward to something new. And if you have your act together and dare to do the organizational changes, you're so way ahead of your competition.
Yeah, and just to add on that note, there's an observation that I've made. For some reason, we are humanizing AI. We are humanizing technology and enabler. We didn't do that with our CRM systems.
That's right.
When Excel came in, we didn't do it then. Why is it that we're suddenly humanizing? I saw in the Scandinavian countries as we are in here, they are publishing their humanity of their AI agents, and they are individually as a body embedded in their marketing teams. And I understand why people are scared, because by humanizing
a technology, an enabler that's purely just there to support you do things better, save time, automate things so you can actually focus on what really matters. Advising, strategic thinking, where value is needed, but copy pasting and analyzing massive amounts of data. Of course, we need to get big machines to help us with that and optimize our time. But then also going back to the aspect of saving time, just like during COVID, what did many people do while we were locked down? Did you take that time to do something productive, something you haven't done before? And I think it's going to be really interesting to see how the curiosity, the mindset, the culture is going to have to embrace the added new free time. How are we going to use that extra free time valuable? Because that in my opinion is where the value lays.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. And it's not that we should do less things. It's just that we should do other things and maybe focus on the things that we don't do today. And in my perspective, it comes down to that I think there could be a lot more cooperation done and discussions and how to work together towards that goal. Back to the speech yesterday by Adda Rotman, she also mentioned that she is a compliant now. She's a business risk, chief business risk. Sorry about the title, but that's her area, and that's not my area. But I think that what she mentioned, that compliance as a customer experience and building trust in a completely new way. So if you have that in shape and you have your technology in shape and you start to work with these tools together with operations and sales, you will have like a super power tool to do something completely new that was also will create a way better sustainability in finance on a long side.
Yeah,
I would say.
Yeah, and we talked about this before as well. The advanced version of the Spotify model, right? Like it's not enough that our tribes and our structure is set within around the product teams. It should be across the whole organization. And how do we work together with very clear KPIs to move forward? And then AI is going to be purely just an enabler that helps us do things way faster to free up time to do better things. But it's going to be interesting to see culture. Culture in the organization is going to play a key role here for that adoption. Because I think also going back to the two corners, there's going to be those who are the first movers. I would almost say that those are already behind us. But you have to embrace AI today and also look at, as we talked about, what does that mean for your team? And how can you change and make sure you are future-proofing yourself, you as a human being in this society for tomorrow? Because again, to your point earlier, this is not a digital transformation that is in a year to 5 years from now. No, this is tomorrow. This is today. We heard earlier a debate yesterday, AI is doubling its power every 3 months. So you have to embrace this today. Otherwise, you're left behind.
And I'm a little bit curious about the toolbox we will be using while doing this transformation. And I would say it is a transformation of working closer together and across teams in a different way. And it could be that it's a little bit larger challenge for large corporations and large banks than it is for fintechs that maybe have a little bit, or what I can see, has a little bit more adaptability to that type of culture and to work closer together. But nevertheless, I think that we all have to question our roles and the way we're working in general. And to your point, what are we doing instead? And how do we use that time in order to make better business?
Yeah. And if I should wrap up our dialogue just before giving it back to you, Jenny, for me, it comes into the curiosity and the openness and the mindset of us as individuals. How do we make sure we move forward in the right way? And we have to stop talking about us and them. My team is the best. I am fantastic. Everyone else are just not great. We have to work together. We have to figure out how do we actually, as a bigger team, succeed. Because even within our organization, regardless of size, we are playing on the same team. We are not against each other. And I think only then you will start opening up, talking about how do you work cross teams, or even looking at as cross collaborations on project level, and then having clear KPIs for those. And AI is simply just an enabler to do way more, way faster. Well, what's your key takeaways from the audience as we're wrapping up? Well, I have key takeaways from today. One is go home and kill your darlings. And what do I mean by that? Well, what is the closest to your heart that you're really proud of and cannot let go? Kill. And then invite your team to a session and a little workshop and make yourself completely disruptive. Set up an organization where there's completely you and where you're not really part of that organization, but rather looking upon yourself, your capabilities, your contribution, and how you really would like to work, and play it out and see what happens. Because I'm completely agreeing with you that I think that the hardest challenge for us to adapting to this major change that's going on is that if I can, for my example, for example, kill the marketing team. I am an old marketing director. Do we need marketing the way it's been done up until now? Maybe not. We can probably be disruptive and work in other team or in other settings or different ways, way more efficient with the data and the setting we have at hands right now. And I think that's an exercise that everybody should do, to be prepared and to be ready and to find more joy and more purpose in the future to come.
Kill your darlings. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.